What was your first impression of Mr. Pena?
So, I didn't like Mr. Pena at first. Making us watch all these foreign films and they were in French and black and white and old, and I didn't like it. And the first day, the very first day I met him, he had a Scooby-Doo tie, and I was like, nice tie, and he was like, thanks, and he never wore it again. And yeah, and it was just funny, and it was a cool tie.
He was pretty chill. I mean, I didn't really like form an opinion of him until we started doing film history.
Oh yeah.
Like as soon as he opened up that PowerPoint for film history, I was like, I'm gonna like this guy.
My first impression of Mr. Pena was it was in sophomore year, I believe, when I joined AVP. And the first time I saw him, I thought he was gonna be like a cool, chill guy. And when we started doing projects, he was always like real cool and helping out. Not like where we couldn't go up to him and ask him a question. We weren't always afraid. We just felt like we could easily go talk to him about it.
I think initially, I just saw him as like a goofy guy. You know, like he looked like a kind of goofy guy, and he turned out he was a goofy guy, but like he was a cool goofy guy. You feel me?
How has Mr. Pena affected your view of film as an art form?
Definitely when he first came in, my mindset was like filmmaking and movies are like entertainment. But now, all these years later, I see film more as like an art form, like the same level that poetry and literature and music is considered like art that should be studied.
Now every time I watch a movie, I either think of like the way the shots are composed, and now like every time they show a shot, I'm thinking like, well, why did they show that shot? And now I think about also like how music can affect the scene, like the way that the tone is, if it's happy, sad.
I always viewed film as an artistic expression, but Mr. Pena definitely taught me to appreciate it more.
Well, I think I've always really liked movies, and I've always knew I kind of wanted to get into filmmaking. But I think once Mr. Pena kind of stepped in, he's like a really good, he's a really good teacher. Like he has a certain way of like putting your soul into it as well. Like he taught you how to soul, which is really cool. So I think that's a really important aspect that he taught me.
What's your favorite attribute about Mr. Pena?
Define attribute.
Like personality.
Yeah,
personality-wise, I was like,
just trait.
I was
character
gonna like
trait.
his beard. He's really good at like individually taking care of each student. You know, he doesn't really just sit there and like teach a class like every other teacher does. Like he teaches you individually.
His sense of humor. He could always make everybody laugh. That was the best thing about it.
My favorite attribute of Mr. Pena would have to be his almost sense of sarcasm or like passive aggressiveness in class. It's the way I am, and it's just kind of relatable to me. So
You could talk to him about like anything. What's your favorite Pena story?
Ah, shit.
So many.
Come back to me on that one.
My favorite Mr. Pena story would have to be when Jonah took a very hot pepper, and then the next day couldn't talk, and then of course Ben was messing with him and then put him into a chokehold, and then Mr. Pena just goes up to him and says, "Jonah," and doesn't really do anything, just kind of stands there and looks at him, and then Ben gets out of it eventually, but we're just all laughing, and I thought that was so funny.
One time after school, riding my bike home from school, and like it broke. Something was wrong with my bike, and like he drove by and like he stopped on the side of the road and tried to help me fix it and stuff. And we fixed it and stuff, but like he cut my finger.
Man, my favorite Pena story, probably the film festival at Side Creek. And I think my favorite story was whenever we finished filming, and then we realized that there was like a missing scene, and we had to run back to the woods and film another scene before we could do anything, and then the audio was all trash. It was a mess. Cameron.
The film festival that we had whenever we were making all our films, and after we were done and they like had the whole award ceremony, I know like me and Chris and like most of the people there were just super pissed and like we went back to our little like the little like area of Side Creek that we sort of like took over and made our own. And we were just like pissed, like kicking stuff and like just freaking out. And then like Mr. Pena came and like talked to us and talked about it's not about winning necessarily. It's about that we produced, we made art that day. What lessons will you take from Mr. Pena's class?
As far as filmmaking, so before I used to have this habit of like trying to do everything, and like whenever I direct a film, like I would take over on set and like hold the camera and like set up the shot myself and direct the actors and write the script and all of this stuff, and I wouldn't let my DP do anything or really anything. And it was on, I think it was on Late for Class when Philip was my DP, and he told me, Ben, you're not letting Philip do anything. And I was like, I got it. And he was like, okay, either talk or touch the camera, but don't do both. And it clicked right there, and I was like, oh, I don't have to do everything. I still live by that, and I still, every time I make a film, I'm either directing or I touch the camera, and I don't do both.
Mr. Pena would always make us feel like it's a collaborative art form. Since it's all one thing, we all are working together, and everybody can work hard. And if everybody puts their hard work and effort into it, it's just going to be one big success.
Being true to yourself, really, and like, I don't know, like he has a good way of like letting you have fun with it. Like you gotta learn to have fun with whatever you're doing, no matter what it is. Love it, own it, do it.
I guess working on projects in Mr. Pena's class, like having to deal with scheduling and just dealing with people, like whether actors or people who for locations and stuff. It just taught me to kind of work with whatever situation I'm in. So like, yes, there's a plan, but if that plan messes up, it taught me to make it work to the best of my ability.
Dude, you're the best. Like, really.